Anita Moorjani, beautiful, beautiful, angelic soul. She is a New York Times bestselling author. She has an incredible story I'm going to let her dive into. And we're going to talk about a couple of things today, including her new book. But we'll do that towards the end. And I'm just going to let Anita just go and share with us, your journey. And thank you so much again for spending time with us today.
Gosh, you are so welcome. So welcome. This is so fun. So I will do kind of like a shortened version of the near-death experience, because what I love to talk about is the lessons and the things I learned from that.
Yes.
That's so fun. So what happened is that I had in 2002 I was diagnosed with a form of cancer, which is lymphoma, Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it spread throughout my lymphatic system. And I had tumors, some of them the size of golf balls, from the base of my skull, all around my neck, under my arms, in my chest, and all the way to my abdomen. And this progressed over a period of 4 years. It started as just one lump on my neck, and then I had it tested. And so over a period of 4 years, it spread throughout my lymphatic system. And by that point, my body was very weak. My muscles had completely deteriorated, and I had fluid in my lungs. I weighed about 85 pounds because my body was no longer absorbing nutrition. I could barely walk. I was lying in bed most of the time, but if I would lie flat, I would choke on my own fluid. And the doctors told my husband at the end of 2005, they told my husband that I only had about 3 months to live. In February of 2006, on February the 1st, I was so weak, my organs started to shut down, and I went into a coma. At that point, the doctors told my family that I was dying and that I was not going to come out of the coma. And my organs had already started to shut down one by one. But what happened is that, unbeknownst to everybody around me, even though I was in a coma and my physical eyes were closed, I felt as if I was no longer attached to my body, as if I'd come out of my body, and I felt amazing. All the pain was gone, all the fear was gone. It was like I was in another world, or not. I just couldn't feel my body anymore, but it just felt incredible.
Yeah.
But I could also see, hear, and feel everything that was happening all around me. But I wasn't seeing it through my physical eyes. It was like I had 360-degree peripheral vision. It was more like an awareness. It was like I was aware of everything that was happening all around me. And it was just the most incredible feeling. And I call it a feeling of unconditional love. I felt as though I was just loved. And I felt as though I didn't have to, I call it unconditional love because it felt as if I didn't have to do anything to win anyone's approval. I didn't have to work at being loved. I was loved just because I existed.
Yes.
And this was something I had never felt in my physical life before. I'd spent a lifetime of always working hard at being liked and winning people's approval and being a people pleaser. But here I was out of my body and just feeling just this feeling of love. And this feeling of love was like it was coming from everywhere, and like it was coming from everyone, like the universe or source or God or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
And then I became aware that I was, that there were other beings around me, like spirits or souls that were around me, that were, and these, and they were there to help me to cross over to the other side. And all they felt for me was unconditional love. Like there was no evil or anything. It was just so beautiful and peaceful and calming. and I felt my dad was there, my dad who I hadn't really got along with in physical life, but here on this side, all he felt for me was pure unconditional love, and it was just amazing. Then just to kind of I was there for 36 hours, and so many things happened, and we can unravel it as we speak.
Yes.
But I reached a point where I felt that I had a choice as to whether to come back into this physical body or to continue in the other realm. That is, my physical body would then die and I would continue in the other realm. I had that choice, but and so I wanted to stay there because it was so beautiful. No part of me wanted to come back here. But I felt my loved ones, my best friend was there as well. She had died 2 years prior. I felt that they were encouraging me to come back to my body. They were saying that I had gifts here that were waiting for me and that my purpose wasn't complete. And I learned that my husband, Danny's purpose was linked to mine, and that he couldn't complete his purpose if I didn't come back. And I felt, but my body was dying and my body was suffering and the people who were taking care of me were suffering. I didn't see the point in coming back to a dying body. But I then had this understanding that we are actually much more powerful than we've been led to believe. We are amazing, magnificent, powerful beings. And I had never realized that in my life before. This was the first time I was realizing it. And my loved ones wanted me to know that now that I knew this truth, if I chose to go back, my body would heal very quickly. And that's when I chose to come back. And I started to come out of the coma. And my dad had said to me, go back and live your life fearlessly. And I started to come out of the coma and everybody was shocked. The doctors were shocked. I started to tell them things that I had heard and seen them do, and they knew something had happened, but they couldn't explain it. But in 3.5 weeks, they could find no trace of cancer in my body. In 5 weeks, they let me go home and live my life cancer-free. And that was in March of 2006. It's now March of 2021. That was 15 years ago.
Wow. It's just such a beautiful journey. And even though you shared, and I've read your book, and I just want to take a moment, Anita, just to thank you so much, just to acknowledge you for sharing that again with us. And I can feel your energy just even here, through the live. And I think the audience can as well. And just want to acknowledge the audience for all the love that they're sharing to you, just all the hearts that are flying up, and so many people are letting you know how much they love you and how much you've impacted their life. And so just want to take a moment and say that. I think someone asked if I was upset with them. Absolutely not. I get so many messages that sometimes I don't get through all of them. It takes me a week. So just wanted to acknowledge that about the audience, and that's it. And I just really want, Anita, that's so beautiful. If you could just keep going, share, at that point forward, you came out of it. And there's a lot of questions about how you coped, when you're going through that pain, and how even though you knew, was it your husband? Knowing that he couldn't complete his journey, and that's why you came back to journey together. I mean, there were so many questions that have flooded in. I'm just sort of picking at a few of them because I just want to let you, journey with us here today and share.
Sure. So what happened is that after I came out of the coma and I had to go and live my life, one of the things that I noticed is that I was changed by this experience. I was very, very changed because in that time that I was there, I experienced what I call a state of clarity. And in this state of clarity, I understood why it was that I had gotten sick. I understood why I had cancer. And by the way, I also want to acknowledge that, first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to do this together with you. So thank you so much. And I want to acknowledge everybody who's posting and sharing hearts. I so appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. So one of the things that happened is that after I came back, I felt I understood why I had got sick, because in that state of clarity, I understood how it was that I had suppressed who I am. I understood that we are spiritual beings. We are souls with an intention to come here and to follow our calling. And it's when we suppress ourselves and we dim our light and we make ourselves small and we think we're unimportant and we put everybody else's needs first and don't even allow ourselves to fulfill our needs or to receive anything. When we treat ourselves like doormats, that's the person I was. I was a doormat. I was a people pleaser. See, that's why you resonate with my work. Exactly. And so when we allow ourselves to do that to ourselves, what we are doing is we are suppressing that soul, that spirit that has come through this body to express itself and follow its calling. We're preventing it from doing so because we're saying, oh, I'm not important. Everyone else is more important than me. And we're suppressing ourselves. That soul that's come through us, that is a facet of the divine. That's a piece of divinity. So we are denying God or the divine from expressing itself through us. And I realized that I had made myself small and dimmed my light. And when my dad said, live your life fearlessly, that's what he meant. He meant, don't be afraid to shine your light. Don't be afraid to be yourself and be who you are. Don't be afraid to follow your calling. So that's what I started to do after the near-death experience. What happened, though, and this is why a lot of people face challenges, is that if you have always been a people pleaser and a doormat, and if you have been conditioned to be that way because of your culture or your community. I come from a background, an Indian background. My parents are Indian Hindus, and in our culture there is gender disparity, where women are actually expected to be subservient and obedient, and we are expected to be in service to the men in our families and our communities. We're expected to be subservient in a marriage, and we are actually socialized as we grow up in our teen years. The women are socialized we're socialized to be a wife, to be a good, obedient wife, particularly in my generation. But I hear it still happens, which shocks me. And so because of that, it's very hard later on in life to suddenly realize, hey, wait a minute, my spirit wants to express itself. This is not who it wants to be. Because suddenly we become afraid we're going to lose the people around us, the community and everybody who are around us, because we've been socialized the way we have, you know, so to fit in. So what we've been doing is we have suppressed who we are so that we can be accepted in this community, so that we can be liked. And so the scary thing is when you realize, oh my gosh, everything I've been, everything I've learned, it's not conducive to who my soul wants to be. My soul wants to be free. My soul wants to travel the world and do this and, you know, be a teacher or whatever, a speaker, and it wants to do all this. But you're like, oh, but it's going to upset the world I have built around me being the people pleaser. That was the harder journey. That was a really hard journey, breaking through all of that. And so the other piece is that when I had the near-death experience, after I had the near-death experience and I was healed, I felt that I need to tell everybody why I healed. So at first I thought, I want to shout it from the rooftops. I want everybody to know that that you just have to be yourself. You have to let your soul shine through and be all that it can be. And you have to love yourself through it. And don't be a doormat and don't be a people pleaser. And I thought everybody would be interested in knowing that. But they weren't. I got a lot of pushback. And I thought, why wouldn't people be interested to know why I healed? Surely it would help other people to heal. But I got pushback from people, particularly from the medical world, who said that what you're saying is it's dangerous, and you don't want people to think they can cure cancer by loving themselves. And I was like, that's not exactly, it's not as shallow as that, but the truth is we do get sick when we suppress our soul, suppress our spirit. That is actually my point. And we need to explore that and look at that. But I was getting pushback and things like that. So then I stopped sharing my story publicly, but I was still living the way I needed to live, because I didn't want to go back to being the person I was who got cancer. And then I shared my story on the internet. I didn't even use my full name. And I thought, I'm going to share it and I'm going to set it free. And whoever's meant to read it will read it. And that's when it was discovered by Dr. Wayne Dyer, the public speaker and, the best-selling author who is now on the other side. Yes. He discovered it and he brought me out into the world and had me share my story and encouraged me to write the book, which was published by Hay House. And that was my first book, Dying to Be Me. And that was the start of this second phase of my journey, which is being in the public eye, which is a whole other journey. Yes. Because as I have discovered while I'm on this journey that I am an empath, as are you. Yes. Because I used to wonder while I was on this journey, why was I always so impacted by the people who were struggling and suffering? And I was very, very impacted because I was attracting a lot of people who were struggling and going through disease and cancer. And I wanted to help everybody. Mm-hmm. And when people couldn't be, when there were people that couldn't be helped, I was like, I felt everybody's pain, and I couldn't understand why. And if I was getting criticism, the criticism would impact me deeply. It would actually affect the way I was working. Yes. And I didn't realize that not everybody thinks this way until someone introduced me to the term empath. Someone said, "Oh, you're probably an empath." So I looked it up and I realized, oh my gosh, this describes me. That's when I went on the most recent part of my journey, was to really discover what it means to be an empath. And I started to get so much clarity around that one of the reasons I got sick in the first place is because I'm an empath and I took energies that were not even my own. I took on everybody else wanting me to please them. I took it on and I wore it in my energy, in my body. And so that started my recent journey of writing my newest book, where I just want empaths to know, I really want empaths to know that being an empath is actually a gift. And I would love to speak with you more on that, but I would also love to take any questions that are out there, if you have any, or if anyone has any questions.
Thank you for sharing, Anita, and that, there are so many questions. A lot of it has to do with your experience with cancer, but just so many souls here. There's 1,000 people on here, but, and thank you all for being here. Yes, we will save. I will absolutely, as I always do, we'll save this replay. Go ahead, go to sleep for, whoever's saying it's 2 a.m. where you are, we will save it. It's just so important just for you to share this part of your journey, because so many of us resonate, as you say, because there are so many of us who are empaths. As you said, I resonate so deeply. did very much the same thing. After my parents both had cancer, it just became about taking care of everybody else, making at whatever cost to my own health and my own happiness. Like, that would be the most worthwhile sacrifice, is that whatever it took for me to make sure no one else got cancer, make sure everyone was happy, no one was upset, until that turned into my own journey where I ended up having to have 8 surgeries. And I had health issues, and I resonate with every word that you're saying. I didn't have cancer, but I had created so much inflammation in my body that I had so much damaged tissue that I had to remove, and then I had a different experience, but nearly died after surgery. And had that part of my journey as well. So I resonate so deeply. But what I'm seeing from these comments is that so many people do. Just the feeling of not being enough unless you give all of yourself, or unless you show up in a way where you are serving people, right? You're serving generations of people with your story. But so many of us think that we have to serve in a different way, in a self-sacrificial way, in a way that tells the people around us that you're worth more than I am. And here I'm going to show you that. So I just think that it's so powerful that you're sharing that with us, because look at these messages. So many people just felt the same. So I would love to dive into your book. I would love to for you to share this part of it, because, and you guys, I was able to share a lot more about this book, even though we were kind of cut off. So we'll figure out a way to clip everything in. But this book is what I think it's more than just empaths, Anita. I feel like everyone is served by your words in this book, truly, because, it's, even if you're not an empath, we all connect with each other. We all relate in some way, even if you're not necessarily an empath that takes everything in. We're still all affected by each other, right? Because we all resonate. So if you could just really, explain a little bit about what people will find, between the covers of this book, that you wrote for empaths, but even beyond that. And then I'm going to scroll through while you're talking and pick out some of these questions that are just flooding in.
Okay, yes, because there's so much I can say. I can just go on and on and so that's why I wanted to.
No, I love it. I mean, we're still going to have tea, and we're going to go on and on.
This is great. I had no idea that you also had all those surgeries and you went through all those the illnesses. I'm so happy you're here and you're looking so amazing and well. I'm so happy you're here doing the work you do, because what you do is so important, like teaching people about food and stuff like that. I love food. Danny and I, we both love food, and we love cooking, and for us, cooking is like our meditation.
Oh, we'll have to cook together.
I would love that.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll just, come on, we'll cook together. It'll be so fun. That's what we'll do.
That'll be so fun, and we should get on to talking about food in a bit too. But what I want to speak about, I'll tell you about what inspired me to write this book, but also let me give you a little bit of background to give people really a synopsis of the kind of person I was as well. So I was somebody that was, as I said, a people pleaser, and when you're an empath, you feel the energies of the people around you. So the difference between an empath and just a sensitive person is that a sensitive person can intuit what other people are feeling. And it's great, because then you know what they need, but you don't feel it in your own body.
Yes.
An empath actually absorbs the energies of other people in their own body. Yes. So when you're an empath, because you feel the energies of everyone around you and you absorb it, what happens is you can't always separate their emotions from yours. So if somebody is feeling really awful or having a bad day, and you are just hanging around with them, and then you walk away and you feel lousy or crappy, you're kind of thinking like, oh, I wonder why I'm feeling crappy. And it doesn't occur to you that, oh, I just absorbed that person's energy. And unless you're aware that you're an empath. So for me, it was amazing to learn this, that, oh, wow, I am absorbing people's energies. That's why I got the cancer in the first place. I'm taking it on and I didn't even know. So it was like a real eye-opener to discover that a certain percentage of us are empaths. And I discovered this from Dr. Elaine Aron and Dr. Judith Orlov. So, and it's a very small percentage that are empaths. Then there's a percentage that are sensitive but are not empaths. So the thing about sensitive people and empaths is that they are intuitive. Sensitive people and empaths are intuitive, but empaths have this additional thing of actually feeling other people's energies. And so you have to be aware of that. So what happens is, because you feel other people's energies, you want other people to feel good so that you can feel good. Because when they feel good, you feel good. If they feel awful, you feel awful because you're feeling good. So empaths are people who have a tendency to go out of their way to try to make other people feel good. So we're always there helping other people, serving other people, rescuing other people, because we want them to feel good. Because when they feel good, we feel good. And when they don't feel good, we don't feel good. So it starts off this cycle. So empaths then attract people who want someone to make them feel good all the time.
Yes.
So that's the other thing we have to be aware of. So many years ago, before I was diagnosed with cancer, that I am an empath. I didn't know I was. So I was doing this. I was constantly helping people, rescuing people. I had no idea that all my friends who I attracted around me at that time were people who depended on me. They needed me to do things for them. The other thing about empaths is they're not good at receiving. They're not good at receiving. They're not good at allowing abundance to come into their own lives. They're giving and doing and helping and serving, but they don't allow abundance to come into their own life because they feel guilty. They feel like, oh my God, I shouldn't be taking this. I should be giving it to them. I want them to feel good. That was me. So what happens is, my entire community, people who I attract, friends I attract, are all people who I rescue and help, and they cry on my shoulder, and I never take anything from them. I never want to trouble them. And then one day, my best friend, she was diagnosed with a rare form of aggressive cancer. And when she told me that, because she went to a doctor for a test and all that, and then they had to do surgery, and then she came back with the result. I was shocked because we were both the same age. We were both healthy, vibrant. She was healthy, vibrant. And then it's like all of a sudden she had trouble breathing one day. The doctor found a tumor in her chest, and then they do surgery. And then they told her that she had this rare form of aggressive cancer, and her chances of survival were very, very low. I was absolutely shocked. It was as if it had happened to me. I literally took that on as if it happened to me. I told her that I got you. I want to be there for you. I am going to see you through this. So I would be there for her, everything, through her chemo, through her surgeries. I would be waiting outside the operating theater while she was in surgery. I would not go out with my other friends. I would not go out for dinners and have fun and go shopping because I felt guilty when I would do that. She's suffering. I can't be out having fun. I would be there with her. I needed to go through this with her. Otherwise, I didn't feel good. I felt guilty.
That's exactly how I felt with my parents, too.
Yes.
It's the exact same things. I wouldn't leave my dad's side. I did the exact same thing.
And you would feel guilty. You can't even go have fun or, That's exactly it. And this went on for about a year and a half. And things were going on in my life that, things were falling apart, things like family relationships and stuff was happening. But I kept saying to myself that what's happening to me is nothing compared to what's happening to her.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, you get this. And so I would put aside everything, even when I had minor health issues. It was like I would get a really bad flu. I would get things that was going on with my health. I could feel something is going on, but I would still be like, but she's dying. What I'm going through is nothing compared to that.
Yes.
I would put aside, I wasn't eating healthy. I had no time to eat healthy. I had no time for myself because anything I was going through didn't compare to what she was going through. And then one day I felt a lump on my neck. And when I went to the doctor and he did a biopsy and he said it was lymphoma, they did a scan and they said it has spread. It's stage 2 at that time. It was stage 2. And there was a part, although I was really fearful, I was like, oh my God. There was a part of me that felt, now I can take care of myself.
Wow, yeah.
That gave me permission to take care of myself. And even then, I was juggling between taking care of myself and still helping her. It was only in my near-death experience, I wanted to know, like, why did it have to be something so dramatic as getting cancer? So my best friend passed away, by the way. And then 2 years later, I was supposedly died as well. And I wanted to know on the other side, why did it take something so dramatic as me getting cancer to get this wake-up call? And in that state of clarity, what I understood, what Spirit wanted me to know, was that I was getting the wake-up calls all the way along. I was getting things getting messed up in my family, my health, but nothing was making me feel that I'm important enough to take care of myself. It had to be something as bad as what my friend had for me to feel, oh, okay, I need to take care of myself. And so as empaths, we have to ask this question, is this what we're doing to ourselves? And we have to be aware that you are a soul here with a purpose. You need to love yourself and take care of yourself. You do not need permission. You do not need a wake-up call. You do not need an illness. You do not need a reason.
No, you don't need justification, right?
Yeah.
I hear you, and it's such a important, powerful message, and I'm through the same, I mean, I literally had to almost die myself, losing a third of the blood in my body, not able to use the upper left side of my body for me to be like, what am I doing right now? And it's the same. And even though it seems obvious, your message is so powerful. It's something we all need to hear to check ourselves, because so many people bring themselves to that point, Anita. So many people bring themselves to the point of sickness or illness or just unhappiness or loss. And they look back and it's just like, well, why? And it's because you didn't think you were good enough, you know? And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just really wanted to punctuate what you were saying. It's just that it's so important. It's not a small message, it's something that we all need to hear. Empath or sensitive, we all do this to ourselves, right?
Yes, we do. And no, you didn't interrupt me at all. It's so important that even for me to know that you went through exactly this, because the interesting thing is, when I first started sharing these kinds of messages right in the beginning, when I came out of the hospital, I wanted everybody to know why it was that I got the cancer. And I was being dismissed by the medical paradigm, by the medical community. But when Wayne Dyer brought me to a different audience, what I realized is that the people who, there is a huge community of people who are attracted to spirituality and spiritual books, who are empaths, who will understand what I'm saying. And that, and so you know that this is true. You do get physically impacted by these
100%.
things. You do absorb energies through in your body. So so I've been so pleased to have been able to help so many people with this. And that's why, yeah, I love what you're bringing to this as well. And so one of the other things that inspired me to write this particular book, so the first book was written, the initial story, but one of the other things that inspired me to write this particular book in the last couple of years is that I started to realize, when I realized I was an empath, when I started to research more about what it means to be an empath, I realized that empaths, many of them don't even know they're empaths. Right. And because of that, you don't know what your gifts are. And most empaths are hiding from the world because they feel the world is like, the energies of the world is like too overwhelming. Yeah, exactly. I started to do that too. We feel that it's too overwhelming. And because empaths hide from the world, I thought, wow, this is really interesting. The reason the world feels like it's getting harsher and harsher is because there's not enough empaths out there, particularly in leadership positions. But because the thing about empaths is, because you feel what everybody else feels, you want people to be helped. You want to alleviate world hunger. You don't want to use all your country's resources for weapons and wars. You want to use it, like if empaths were world leaders, if global leaders were all empaths, you would alleviate world hunger just like that. You would alleviate all wars just like that. It would be a different world. So I started to question, why are there no empath leaders? Why not? Why aren't they out there? And that's when I started to understand it's really hard for empaths because they feel like they are weak. You look at what we worship in when we use the word strong, we talk about people who are competitive, who are ruthless. Make it to the top at any cost. Survival of the fittest, we say. That is how we describe strong. But when somebody is sensitive, when someone is empathic, when someone is compassionate, when somebody cries easily, when someone feels for others, we say, oh, don't be so sensitive. And if it's a guy, we say, boys don't cry. And we say, you've got to toughen up, otherwise you won't survive in the world. And we treat those traits as weaknesses. And then we wonder why the world is so harsh. It's obvious. So that's one of the things that inspired me to write this book, because people have to rethink what strength means. Otherwise, we'll be at the brink of our own extinction. In the past, our governments have always spent their money on bigger and bigger nuclear weapons. Instead of feeding each other, we're killing each other. Why? So this is really my message, is that we need to change the metrics of what it means to be strong if we want to evolve to the next level.
Yes, no, I 100% agree. And I'm so sorry, Gizmo's been coughing, so if it's disruptive for you, Anita, and I know some of our audience has commented, he has a collapsing trach and he has congestive heart disease, so sometimes he gets a tickle, but he's okay. It just sounds really bad, and he's right here. So just thank you for noticing, you guys, and I'm sorry if it's loud. But I want to show just show the cover of Anita's book again, because Anita, I'm so grateful to you that you wrote this book, and I absolutely agree with you that sensitive is not just been you strong, it's always been this strong. It's the ones who are holding space to be kind and compassionate, and to show compassion and to show love and to remind others that that's really what helps us all rise together, and to hold that light. And so it's almost like you're just reminding the world that like sensitive has been the strong. And so I love the title of your book. I love this reminder. And I wish that I wish that I had this book, years and years ago, because I remember there was a time in my life where I thought, I'm not made for this world. I remember saying that I didn't, very few people ever said that to, because you sound like you're suicidal if you say something like that, and it was just a couple people that I remember saying, it's so painful to be here. People can be so unkind to each other. And then, as you say, to take it on and not having any awareness that I was an empath, that I'm an empath, like not having any awareness of why I felt that, this pain. So thank you so much for writing this. And, it's going to be, I talk a lot about books being in people's homes or in their libraries as like a tool for different things, in your kitchen, for nutrition. But this is a tool for life. It's a tool not just for yourself, but for you to teach and show others. So I want to just again thank you for writing it. And I want to remind everybody that they can go to the bottom of the comments right here, where I've pinned the comment with Anita's Instagram account. So make sure you go and you follow her, and make sure you go and you can see where you can find this book. And it's everywhere, right, Anita?
It's everywhere. It's in all bookstores, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, wherever. Yes.
Everywhere. And you know what? I think you were looking down at the time. This is Anita's, one of her other books, at least. This is her other book. This is a book that, this book made me, I don't want to say made me cry. It just moved me. It moved me where my only expression was through tears. It's so beautiful, and your journey and your heart is so beautiful. So, I really encourage everyone to not only to get Anita's books, but to share them. It's so important that we share her message. It's so important that we share the tools that she gives us here. And actually, Anita, if you wouldn't mind, could you, for the people who are listening right now, for all these messages that are coming through, and a lot of them are the same, so thank you, telling you, excuse me, how amazing the book is, how much it's helped them. For the ones who don't have the book in hand yet, are there maybe just 2 or 3 takeaways that you can lend them, starting, in case I was about to jump, that you can lend them starting from the moment that they get off this live, that they can do for themselves to help themselves navigate this journey as they start on their journey of understanding that sensitive is the new strong?
Absolutely. There's tons of stuff I can give them. And by the way, yeah, if you want to hold Gizmo or anything, I'm fine. I don't mind. He's
okay, good.
poor little Gizmo.
I know, he's such a sweetheart, and I apologize for the noise. He's gone to his like favorite room. We have a room we call the boho room, where it's just like pillows and shag rugs and crystals. That's really Gizmo's room, and he's in there right now getting some crystal therapy, but he'll come back in.
Oh, yeah. And you made a statement. You said that you have felt sometimes you're just not you're not ready for this world, or you're not made for this world. You're not alone. It sounds suicidal, but I have felt it many times. I know that there are a lot of empaths out there who will relate to what you just said. It is so true. It is so true. And so really my point is always that the world feels this way because there aren't enough empath leaders making a difference in this world. The leaders in this world are not empaths. So some of the things I want empaths to know straight off the bat, whether you get the book or not is fine. It doesn't matter if you don't. I want to still give everybody something that will help them. If you have identified with what I've said and you know you are an empath, or at least a sensitive person, what I want you to know is that you are what I call a sixth sensory being. We have been conditioned to believe that we are five sensory beings with five senses. You know, your sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch. I think that I got five. But anyway, you've been conditioned to believe that. In actuality, an empath, if you identify as being an empath, it means you have a sixth sense where you just know things, you absorb things. Your energy is very, very powerful in that you feel other people's energies very strongly and it's affecting you. You intuit things. And because that sixth sense has never been recognized in you, in other words, you've never been told that you are a sixth sensory being and you need to treat that as one of the other five senses. Because of that, that's why you are struggling in the world. So I want you to know that first and foremost, and identify and embrace the fact that you are a gifted sixth sensory being. And if you think of it this way, that sixth sense is as strong as the other five senses, but it has been dismissed. Sometimes we get told it's our imagination, or we get told it's woo-woo, or we get told we're delusional, or it's crazy, or whatever. And so you suppress it, and you suppress it, and you suppress it. That's why you struggle in the world. But in actuality, when you embrace it to its fullest, you realize that that is your gift. That is your superpower. And nobody has taught you how to use it. So this is what I want to tell you right now, that your intuition, your empath nature is actually a gift that allows you to know other people's energy very, very quickly, very quickly. And so, and so if you imagine this, imagine that you were told from the time you were very young that to keep your eyes closed. You're not allowed to use your eyes. And so even as you grow up, you're, you know, like let's say you open your eyes and you see things and you say, but wait, I have this extra sense and there's no such word as sight, because if your eyes have always been closed, you don't even have words to describe what it is you see. There's no words for colors or anything like that if you have been told to keep your eyes closed your whole life. If all of us were told that we had to keep our eyes closed from the time we were born, imagine that we had to grow up with only four senses without our eyes. And so imagine if when you accidentally opened your eyes and then you tried to tell people that, hey, there is another sense, there's something out there. And they said to you, no, it's your imagination. You're crazy, you're delusional. So you would be forced to keep your eyes closed to fit in. This is what we do with our intuition, our sixth sense. And because of that, we haven't developed any language around it. And when there's no language for something, we dismiss it. We think it's not a thing because there's no language to describe it. And so when you try to describe it, you're told it's woo-woo and you're crazy. So now you imagine if you try to describe it and people debunk it and they tell you, no, you're crazy. And they say, you don't have proof. I mean, think about it like typical skeptics and debunkers are still having trouble believing in consciousness. I mean, but you and I know that consciousness is very real. So when people try to tell you that, oh, you don't have proof, it's real, what happens is that you start to doubt yourself. But if you think about it, if somebody was blind, if people were blind their entire lives and they've never seen, but you have sight and you can see, there's no way you can prove it to them. There is no way. In the same way, you cannot prove your sixth sensory abilities to someone who doesn't have it because they don't know what it means to have it. There's no language in which to deliver it to them in a way that they would understand it. So I'm trying to tell you, embrace it. Don't let people convince you that it's woo-woo or that you're crazy. So that's number one. Embrace it and know that it's your superpower. And once you recognize it and know it, and don't let people beat it out of you, or don't allow people to suppress it in you, you start to notice it more. It starts to awaken more and more. The second thing I will tell you is that you really need to allow yourself to love yourself and accept yourself for who you are. Loving yourself and accepting yourself is important. And the reason for this is because when you don't love yourself, you don't allow yourself to be who you are. When you don't love yourself and you get intuition and things like that, you start to doubt it and you second guess it. The more you love yourself, the more you trust your intuition. Yeah. So it's really important to love yourself. The third thing is, how do you love yourself? You love yourself by learning how to receive. Most empaths are terrible at receiving. What I want you to know is that receiving is different from taking. So if you take, let's say there's a spectrum. On one end of the spectrum is giving. On the other end of the spectrum is the greed of taking and hoarding. Empaths are on the giving end. You need to at least come to the middle. Yeah. The middle means receiving. So you're always giving, but you're allowing yourself to receive from the universe. If you don't receive love, if you don't receive abundance from the universe, how are you able to be of service to other people? Yes. So allow yourself to receive. Open the receiving channels. Know that you have a tendency not to receive. Yes. And remind yourself receiving is different from taking. You are not going and taking. So taking means taking something that is not yours that will deprive someone else. Mm-hmm. Receiving means allowing yourself to at least receive what you are deserving and worthy to receive, the gifts from the universe. Very different from taking. So allow yourself to receive. The more you love yourself, the more you know you are worthy and deserving, the more you will allow yourself to receive. So that's really important. Another thing I want to say is that a lot of empaths have a lot of beliefs that are holding them back. One of these beliefs is that it's better to give than to receive. Yes. I'm going to correct that for an empath. It's equally a blessing to receive as it is to give. It really is. Because if you close off your receiving channels, you start to deplete your energy, and all you're doing is giving and giving and giving, and you become depleted, and then you do to your body what I did or what Serena did. That's no good. When you're depleted, you're no longer able to give anyway. So scrap that statement. If anyone says to you, it's better to give than to receive, say, no, it's important to receive. The universe is trying to gift you all the time, sometimes through other people. And if you block off those gifts, you're not going to have any energy in you to be able to give. So remember that. Another statement that does not serve us is that this is a big one for people. Money is the root of all evil. A lot of people feel that. Empaths feel that that it's somehow better not to make money. They don't charge for their spiritual work and so on. Here's the problem with that, is that if you actually believe that money is the root of all evil and you don't allow yourself to be abundant. Remember, we're not asking you to be greedy. We're not asking you to take what is not yours. We're asking you to open yourself up to abundance, to get what you truly deserve. How are you going to help people if you do not have the resources? The thing about empaths, because you, by your actual nature, you need other people to feel good. If an empath has abundance, an empath, once their needs are met, will use it to help other people. Yes. They will, because they won't feel good unless they're helping other people. Yes. So we want empaths to be abundant. We want empaths to make money. What's happening right now is, as an empath, if you are blocking your receiving channels, the people who are not empaths, who are more in it for who believe, who actually see the power of money and who are not empaths. They are the ones who are allowing the money to come to them, while the empaths remain poor and destitute. I was trying to figure out, like, what are the empaths historically that have been leaders, and I couldn't think of many, like very, very, very few. And then I think Gandhi was probably an empath. Edgar Casey, a healer, was probably an empath. But here's the thing that I realized: most of them died poor and destitute.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. We want to change that paradigm.
Yes.
There's no virtue in dying poor and destitute. If you're not poor, if you're not destitute, you are able to help more people.
Exactly.
So these are some of the things I would like our empath friends to start to work on and change from the inside out. When you can change that within yourself as an empath, slowly that's how we can change the world, because as empaths become stronger and become more empowered, and then they are able to help more people and become more powerful in the world, that's how we will see changes in the world.
Yes, no, absolutely. And thank you so much for just such powerful reminders, and what I really, and I can tell from all the comments, myself included, so deeply needed to hear. And even if you know it, to be reminded of that. And just something that I'd like to share, a tool that I use to remind myself, is that it's really about balance. If you're giving but you're not receiving, and as Anita said, there's a difference between receiving and taking, then there's not a balance. Everything in the universe, we want to keep everything in balance. So if you're going to give, in order to be balanced, you have to also allow yourself to receive. And this is something that I always try to remind myself of, because I have a tendency to lean towards kind of like the typical empath behavior, as you've outlined, that we want to give first, and want to make sure everyone else has received before we receive ourselves. And as soon as we receive, we want to give it back out. So that's something that I, on a regular basis, try to remind myself of, as well, is that I have to keep, maintain the balance even in the universe, and with other energies, to make sure that I try to receive. But it's kind of a lifelong journey, isn't it, Anita? Like, it's, do you find yourself reminding yourself of your own words, even now?
Yes, it is a lifelong journey. It actually is, interestingly, a lifelong journey, but it's a growth process. And
yes,
it's what happens is that life does get bigger and better as you embrace your empath powers. So just to in fact reiterate, the thing about empaths is that if you are somebody who is a gifted healer, if you are a gifted artist or a gifted musician, or if you are a psychic or a clairvoyant, all these kinds of people, they are empaths. Yes. Because so anybody who has that, who is able to actually feel the energies around them, are empaths. I believe that it is a journey, but if we really realize our power and who we truly are, I believe empaths can actually lead the revolution on changing things, like even the medical paradigm, for example, right yes. now is very, very focused on pharmaceuticals, and it's very, very focused on illness. It's very based on, it's illness focused and pharmaceutical focused. Yes. Whereas I think that it would take an empath leader who is interested in physical health to be able to create a revolution in a different way of healing. Things like tools like how to measure our energy levels.
Yes. Because that's what I do too. Absolutely, I'm so in alignment with you, 100%.
Yeah, because if you have tools to measure your energy levels, you would know that you're most likely to get sick if your energy levels, and when I say energy, I'm not talking just about your day-to-day, because you could be running on adrenaline and still feel have a lot of energy, but I mean life force energy. There was a device to measure life force energy. And if you are running on depleted life force energy for a prolonged period of time, you are going to get sick. But when you get sick and you go to a doctor, they're just going to say, this is the sickness you have, and this is the treatment for this sickness. But nobody is there to tell you, hey, you've been running on very low life force energy for X amount of time. What's going on? Why are you giving yourself? Why aren't you receiving? Why aren't you doing things for yourself to charge your batteries? That's the other piece I forgot to mention that I talk about in the book, is that it's very important for empaths to realize that our life force energy is like the battery in your smartphone. You have to keep charging it. You have to keep charging it. Don't let it get depleted. Don't let it go into the red. We freak out when it goes in the red on our phone, but we let it go in the red in our bodies all the time. So it takes empath healers to see our physical health in a very different way. And if we could have empath healers in cutting edge technology to develop technology and tools that help us to identify things like as I said, our life force energy and things like that, as opposed to where the focus is now. Technology that's being developed now is very non-empathic. It's being developed just focused on finding the illness, earlier and earlier detection of illness, so that we can go in there with drugs and surgery. We wouldn't need that. And empaths are prone to getting certain illnesses because they're absorbing energies and giving. So I would love to see more empaths rise in power and into powerful positions.
Yes, no, agreed. I mean, I'm so in alignment. Well, obviously, you know, we resonate with each other so much. And, you know, I have been, you know, playing, and I'll share with you offline. I'll bring it when I see you. There are certain devices out there that measure your resonance, you know, and they're amazing because it helps you kind of like check in with exactly what you're talking about. I mean, it's not exactly measuring your life force, but it does measure resonance, you know, and it's, and I use it in my practice. I use it for myself. And there are these different devices. It is a way that technology is, I feel like eventually we're getting closer, you know, we're getting closer to a place where we're able to use physics and technology to measure the quantum and to measure what you're talking about, you know, to be able to measure source, you know, that's within us. And so, gosh, I could talk to you forever. Oh my goodness. But we're actually a little over the hour, and Instagram for some reason is still letting us record. So I feel like, you know, we're so blessed right now, but we should probably, just to err on the side of tech caution, we should probably wrap this up soon. And just so much love for you, Anita. Thank you so much, love, for everyone in the audience. The numbers have grown over our hour, and just so grateful. Every one of the tips you shared is so just important, and I promise everyone on here, we will have the replays ready for you, and we'll have the, you know, what do you call it, subtitles, captions when the replays are ready, so you'll be able to watch again, listen, take notes. But you know, even more importantly, make sure you go to Anita's account, and make sure you go and grab this book. And if you want to be like me, you gotta grab this one too, because you need both. So definitely go grab it. And these are amazing resources, and then you don't have to worry about taking as many notes from the live. But this is just such a beautiful experience. Thank you so much, Anita. I'm so grateful for you to be here with us today.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the work you do. You're amazing. Like everything, even you do, everything you felt. I felt, yeah, I really felt it was so easy talking to you. And I love the fact that you do have devices for measuring resonance. I'd love to see them someday.
Oh yes, I'll bring them. You know,
Yes.
when we connect, I'll bring them. And if you guys are interested, you know, I'm happy to share about that too. I don't do that, but maybe we can do this again, and you know, like we'll figure it out.
I would love to.
Yeah, it would be super fun, and I can share it with you, and I can share it with the community here. It's some things that I've been playing with. I only got it a little over a year ago, actually, and just I'm really kind of diving into that space. I'm a nerd, you guys, you know. I love all things health and energy, and so stay tuned. I'll set up another time, and I'll share with you guys just what I've learned. I can't say I'm a total expert, but I can say that it has, you know, been profoundly helpful for me, especially as Anita said. It's just like when you utilize the practices that Anita is talking about, when you put her tips and her practices and what she talks about in her books into place, it only really enhances any other tool or device that you may have. You know, because it really comes from here, right, Anita? It's really the power comes from you. You know, the power comes from within. So anything else is just it's just an extra tool. It's a bonus. But just remember that with or without a tool, if you're an empath, use these practices. If you're an empath, like, you know, you have that power. It's in your soul. So anyway, so that's my 2 cents. And you guys, is there anything else you want to add before Instagram probably will kick us off?
This was amazing, amazing. I would love to do it again. And I just want everybody to know that you need to just relax, love yourself, love all of yourself, learn to receive, and that's it. Just, yeah, go have fun, find your joy. Don't take life too seriously.
Beautiful. The best message ever, and the best way to end this live today. But we will do it again, you guys. So stay tuned. And Anita, so much love to you. I'll message you after this. And you guys set up your notifications. Follow Anita, turn on notifications for her account, turn on them for mine, sign up for our email list, and we'll stay tuned, and we'll keep you posted. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, bye. Thank you guys so much. See you soon.